Good. All right, we're going to have an instructional video here for Freeport Fire's new radios, which is the Motorola APX-8000 XE. This is a dual band model. It comes in VHF and Starcom, and also the XE500 microphone. This is Motorola's newest fire safety microphone. It's IP68, just like the radio, and it has a 500 degree temperature surviving cord, which is 500 degrees at 5 minutes. Channel knob on the top, emergency button, and other functionality. Again, all this radio equipment has been designed specifically for the fire service. So no more police hand-me-downs. This is fire service radios designed for firemen by firemen. So let's start with the radio. To actually turn it on, use the knob. This is what I call a heavy turn. It's designed for working with gloves, and so it doesn't easily turn on and off, which is exactly what you want. Once you set it to a volume, you don't want it bumped and have it turn to a different volume. Like any pot, it has a volume all the way up and volume all the way down, and then you can turn it off. When you do turn these radios on, it does take a little bit of time to wake up. These are little they're software-driven radios, so there's a little bit of time for them to wake up. And the Starcom portion takes a little bit longer to wake up, because that radio actually has to go out and acquire a site, let a site know that it's here and it's active, and that takes about 3 to 5 seconds. Again, that's not normally a problem, but it's always nice to mention that. The radio itself has microphones on the front and back. These microphones don't function necessarily if you're using a speaker microphone, but for those that aren't using a speaker microphone, it's nice to know you can talk into either side of this radio. And the radio, like the microphone, has an Motorola's adaptive audio engine. What this is a proprietary microprocessor controlled audio that gets processed, and it takes into combination with the multiple microphones where the noise is coming from, where the human voice is coming from, if it needs to suppress some audio, or if it needs to adjust the gain on the human. That allows you to basically have communications with high noise environments and still at the other end completely understand the conversation. And again, that's available with the microphone and the radio. The microphone has 5 microphones, cartridge mics in it. The radio, again, has 1 on each side. We also have a display on this side of the radio. The display basically does not flip. It's always this way up, and it has control functionality through the menu buttons down below, and smart key functionality where you actually see the display, and then this button will function with that. For anybody that's used to smartphones, this part of it is actually really easy to operate. It's pretty much as it says. There's also a top display. The top display is available to be used by somebody that has it in their turnout gear or on their waist. The display can be turned vertically by pressing the button and holding it, and then that will turn the button and flip this display. And we'll see if I can. There we are. By holding it just for a second, it flips it, and then you can do it and reverse it. This top button is also programmed for the light, so we'll get back to the buttons in a bit. Again, as far as the operation of the radio, you get a speaker microphone that's hooked up here. This is thumb screwed, but it can be tightened down with a coin or screwdriver if you wanted to. You have a battery that can be removed with a positive locking mechanism. This is kind of like a power tool type of connection.
Zone 1. Freeport Fire Ops.
You have an antenna on top which screws in. Be very careful taking these. These are really kind of fancy antennas. There's microprocessors in there as well. Sometimes ash will get built up, so you just want to make sure you don't tighten this down with any wrenches or anything. You want to keep it hand tight. We have a channel selector knob, much like the on-off knob. This is designed for fire circuit and for gloves. It's difficult to turn accidentally. We also have two other features up above. We have a ABC switch. A and C are basically normal function. They don't have a function in normal operation of the radio. B goes into lock mode. So
keypad control lock on.
when you have that on, and again, it tells you what it's doing, When you have keypad control lock on, no matter what you bump, it's not going to change things. And so this is really a nice operation to have if you're going to, actually be at a fire scene or moving around a lot. And again, that's A, B, and C. And so
Keypad control lock off.
in the smoke or blindly, you can go one way or the other, and the middle is where it's going to be locked.
Keypad control lock off.
And again, the radio is constantly telling you what it's up to. Then we also have the scan on off button, which is this little button here.
Scan on. Scan off.
And again, you get feedback, audio feedback from the radio for what the state is. There is a display, a little Z button will show up if you're scanning. So if you look at your display, if you've forgotten if it's on or off, the display does tell you. There's a number of icons on the display that will tell you functions like, are we scanning? Is it priority scan? What's the battery level? And that's available on both the front and the top. The front one's a little bit bigger for people like me that are visually challenged. So you can see the battery meter, you can see signal strength, you can see lots of features on the front with the icons. The side buttons, we have a button for the light. So as a battery saving mechanism, the lights do turn off after a couple seconds. But by pressing this button, it turns the light back on the display. And so you can actually see the display again if it's really dark out. This display is designed to be seen in bright sunlight, and it is pretty good with that. It's a full color display. So in bright sunlight or at night, you can see this really well. And again, if you hold this top button down, this will actually flip the top switch or flip the display. The next two buttons are all Bluetooth related. So the Bluetooth button, the top one is going to be a Bluetooth acquire. So this is when you want to pair a radio with a SCBA or other Bluetooth appliance. So, because there are also speaker microphones and other kinds of, and lots of stuff going Bluetooth these days. The bottom button is Bluetooth on off. So if you want to turn the Bluetooth on off, you just press the bottom button and Bluetooth will go on or off. The acquire, you only have to acquire something once. The radio remembers it. So once you've actually paired a SCBA device, it will be paired for as long as you need it to be paired. And to reacquire it, it takes seconds. If you need to switch appliances, let's say you've got an SCBA device that's bad and you need a new one that pairs up with this particular radio, you go into the menu button, go into Bluetooth, and you can clear the acquired memories. And that will allow you to basically start from square one on what your Bluetooth capabilities are. That is occasionally necessary. To the speaker microphone, we've got Bluetooth on off on the bottom button, and we have a nice push to talk button that's indented, so it makes it very easy to feel up for. You've got the volume up and down button. You've got your channel selector knob. And the channel selectors are intelligent. The radio will tell you what channel you're on, but neither one of these actually has control. So the minute you start turning one, you're changing the channel up above. This channel knob might not be appropriately aligned. It's just important to know that you'll listen to what the channel is and you'll know where you're at. Again, this has 1 through 16 channel stops. And then, of course, we have the emergency buttons. Both radios have the emergency button. The way the emergency button functions is you had to press it. Once that goes out, that'll actually send out an alert that will have the MDC of the radio and will say that an emergency is out. It lights up every radio in the fleet, starts the LED going, and to turn it off again, you just press the button and release it. So that's how you turn off an emergency button. And it's a very important functionality. It's real difficult to get into that from the top accidentally. So this is not going to get accidentally bumped. It's kind of protected from all sides from getting accidentally bumped. So the emergency button is, it doesn't open mic. So just by pressing the emergency button does not mean that you're going to be talking over the channel, but it will send an alert out, and then anybody else that gets that can say, based on the MDC, do you have any problems, and communicate with that person. So it's really actually very nice for that. As far as the actual channel operation of the radio, The multiple banks that are available, we have channel enunciation on all the main channels. So you just switch to a channel and it will tell you where we're at.
Freeport Fire Simplex.
Maybe a little less loud this time.
Freeport Fire Dispatch.
And that's pretty much the way it works. You can go through all 16 channels on your knob. You can switch to different zones from the front of the radio. Again, the smart buttons will tell you. So in this particular case, it's listing zone as this button. So we'll press that. And now using the menu buttons, we can go up and down to a different zone. And we'll just select it. And the smart button again changed to select. We've selected it. Now we're in a different zone, and the channels will line up differently to that zone. And it always tells you in the display, both top and bottom. It tells you the zone, both top and bottom. And you still have the enunciation of what
Freeport Fire Simplex.
of what the channel is, even though you're in a different zone. So it's really difficult to get lost. If you do feel you're lost, if you've loaned this radio out to a policeman or somebody that doesn't know your template, just give them the instruction that if you get really lost, hit the home button, and that will return to Freeport Ops. So you can't get lost. Well, I guess depending on who you loan it to, you might get lost. So as far as operation with VHF, when you do operate on VHF, there will be an MDC code that goes out over the air, a little blurb of audio at the end. That's the identifier. On Starcom, there won't be anything like that because it's digital. And again, the Starcom channels are interlaced with the VHF channels, so there's really no differentiator between channels for anybody that's operating on that. And essentially, that is the operation of the Motorola APX-8000 XC radio with the XC500. This is, just a reminder, this is an IP68 radio, so it can be submersed in water for up to 2 hours, or for 4 hours, to up to 2 meters, because all waterproofing is a matter of pressure and time. So this is a pretty durable piece of equipment. So there you go.